guy who will have a cane and I look just like I look. I won't change, I promise.
Okay.
But I have a slight limp. I had some neck surgery and I'm recuperating.
Gotcha. Okay, I will look for you. All right, so this is Caseload Manager. It is divided into 5 main hubs. We have calendar here on the left, activities on the right. On the far right, we have all of our reports and the mail center, which we'll go look at in a second. Down here, we have cases. And this is really where people spend the majority of their time. But let's just walk through a sample case. So I'm going to begin in the upper right here by clicking Add Activity. When I do that, a new window pops open. And I'm going to assume that someone just comes into my office.
Right.
That maybe they were referred by counseling services. Chances are they probably just walked in on their own. And we'll say I conducted a quick intake and then probably decided to open a case. And here notes, I just want to give myself a rough sentence about what's going on. So listening to the visitor talk, it sounds like there is a grade dispute with a professor. So now I have my basic information over here. And if I want to, now this is where it's interesting. If I want to, I can keep track of the person's name. And I feel pretty comfortable doing this because as soon as I decide to close the case, all of this identifying information will be automatically deleted. So I can keep track of name, phone number, email, that type of information while I'm working on the case and while I'm getting the conflict figured out. But I know that that information will be deleted and kept completely confidential as soon as I need it to be. Okay.
So can I ask a question real quick?
Please.
And if you'd rather complete, I can save my questions. You tell me.
Go for it.
So as I save the case manager document, is that going to be saved? Is that saved in my own computer, or is that going back to?
This is going up into the cloud, so it's going into Amazon Web Servers, which means that
if somebody broke,
go ahead.
No, if somebody broke into Brandeis system, or if somebody wanted to search my computer, they would not be able to.
Exactly.
Okay. That in its of itself is of value to us. Yes.
Yep. That's the key right there.
Right.
So because we all, it's so easy to leave a file laying around, or you bring your laptop home with you, and then all of that very sensitive information could be exposed. So that's why we feel a little bit more comfortable knowing that if you sign out and we can talk about some of the safeguards there, timeouts and that kind of stuff, that your information is completely encrypted and protected up in the cloud. And so we do feel like this is a more confidential, respectful way to keep track of your cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we've done a basic intake. Now over here on the right, it says, what's the follow-up? What are we gonna do next? So I am going to schedule something on my calendar for tomorrow morning. And I am going to call the professor and invite them to come in for just a conversation.
Yeah.
And we'll figure out where to go next. And then I'm going to send myself an email about this just to make sure that I don't forget. And I'll go ahead and send that to myself just before the meeting so that I get a little reminder. Now, we have these 2 buttons at the bottom. I think it's pretty common that people will come in and they just need some information, right? They want someone to talk to, or they end up being referred out to another office. And so we would save that conversation just to archive that a visitor came into the office. But that might not necessarily be a case. what we're looking at today, this is going to warrant further action. And so in this instance, I do want to click this button on the left that says save and start a new case. Okay, so when I do that, 3 things happen. We have a new calendar item here on the left, new activity on the right, but now what's really exciting is our new case here down in our case list. So I'm going to click on that, and what we have here is, what's the right way to say this? Our springboard for the Ombuds office. We put in a lot of issues that the IOA was interested in, and issues that a lot of other academic Ombuds offices and some corporate Ombuds offices have expressed interest in. That being said, you're not stuck with this. So for instance, if you're an academic Ombuds office, you probably don't need balance due, pay rate, that type of stuff. So it's really easy to delete. Or coming over here to types. These are all of the IOA categories, and a lot of these complaint types probably don't apply to you. So it's very simple to delete these, rename these. You can add in subcategories that your office wants to track. So again, this is just, these are ideas to get the ball rolling. And I'm hoping that this is helpful for a lot of Ombuds offices, but again, I know that it's not the be-all, end-all for your office. Okay, so case name, I might want to change this to visitor grade dispute. I can start to add in some of these key dates. How did they find out about the Ombuds office? Let's say I sent around a leaflet. Okay, so we start to fill out the basic information.
Right.
And so now I click on my student. Right now, again, it's really basic information, but I can start to add in whatever fields I want. For instance, if you want to begin tracking demographic information or start to identify disputes based on gender, age, department, ethnicity, income, all of that stuff, you can add all these fields in here, and then that will allow you to begin to start to track case types or the amount of case types compared to gender, and start to get all of that good data that that really shows all of the hard work that we do in this field. And then what's great is as soon as I close the case, all of this information will be deleted. Anything else that you've added, so that demographic information, if you want to track gender, ethnicity, that type of stuff, all of that will stay, but the rest of this information will be scrambled. So it still protects their confidentiality, but allows you to maintain the data that you need for your report. That's fun. All right, so here's our basic case stuff. Let's go ahead and add in a few basic things here. Scrolling down, you can see this is where we would add additional calendar types, or I'm sorry, calendar items. So if I want to schedule additional phone calls, or if we schedule an investigation or a mediation, I can add all of that in here. And then the final thing I want to show you, again, we'd probably want to delete some of this payment information, but I'm assuming that you would still want to keep track of time. So you would still want to know how much time we put in, and was that time spent in having phone calls or face-to-face conversations, or how is that time divided? So, so it's fun, right? Because it just automatically starts to track all of that good stuff. Okay. So I will update this, and we'll close out of here. And then I also wanted to show you a couple of these reports that we have. Okay, so let's look at an example. So I'm going to click on the service report, and I will say, I mean, I only have 2 cases in here right now, so it won't be that exciting, but I'll go ahead and look at all of my cases for the last year. And then this says, what fields do I want to be included in my report? And I think case status. Again, all of the fields that you add will show up in here. Okay, so you're able to run reports based off of all of the fields that you add.
Mm-hmm.
For the moment, I'll say case status. We'll click get, and then this is showing me a sample report. Saying, I had 2 cases that were opened. One of them was in management. One was from counseling. And then finally, this shows me out of all of these IOA categories, where are they at? In other words, how many compensation cases do I have that are in process? How many peer and colleague relationships did the parties decline? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But what I really like, and this is what's fun about having a program that's all online and connected and in the cloud, is that if I ever have a question, I can just click on it. Okay, so I see there's this one here. And let's say I don't remember doing a bullying case. So I can just click on it, and then that generates a report for me showing what that case was. So I can drill down if I ever have a question about how that data is being generated. So
Awesome.
yeah, so that's pretty fun that it gives you lots of control over your data and how you're going to see it, and making sure that it's precise and clean. Let's see. What about, so we also have this automated follow-up feature where we can set up follow-ups for, let's say, let's do something like this. Let's say that we have a new visitor to the office. And I want to make sure, I'm going to set up calendar items because I want to make sure that I am following up with them in a decent amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say the first day that, I'll call this casework. Okay, let's say that the first day that they come in, I want to make sure that I create a new case file, okay? And I'll send that to all the staff that are involved in the case. And it will just send a quick email reminder saying, hey, make sure that you've created your case file. But then let's say 7 days after, okay, so we'll give them a week. Then I want to make sure that I have followed up with all parties, or with visitors and everyone else that could be involved. Okay, so I'm creating these automatic items, meaning that from now on, every time a person comes into the office, and I track that and say, hey, we have a new person in the office, that I will start getting these reminders saying, hey, make sure that you followed up with this case. Have you sent them the correct information? You know, all the other little stuff that you have to remember to make sure that you're keeping track of your cases. Okay. So that's one of the other features that I really like about this, is that if there's stuff that you're doing all the time, that a person comes in, okay, I have to remember these 7 steps. I have to report this, I have to track this, I have to send them this information. You know, just let Caseload Manager do it for you. So we're really trying to help people with a lot of those repetitive tasks and just allow this to manage all of that. Things like keeping track of your time. So again, I only have 2 cases in here right now, so this is not a very impressive list. But this can give us a quick summary of, all right, over the last month, what happened in our office? How many people visited us? How many phone calls did we make? How much time was spent? What percentage of our time? And then if we want to get really fancy, we can start to break that down by cases. Was there a case that took up an enormous amount of our time? Why was that? How much time are different staff members spending on the phone or meeting face-to-face with people?
And you could break it down by issue as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just fun knowing that there's a system in there that all that you have to do is your job, right? All that you have to do is enter in the information that you're doing anyways. But then there's a system that's in the background is tracking all the time and trends for you. So ideally saving you a little bit of time, but giving you the kind of data that you're looking for. So those are the basics for the system. Oh, and then of course, at the end, so let's say we helped out our poor Jane Doe and spoke with a professor, we got the grade dispute finalized. So then of course at the end, I want to say that this case has been closed, okay? So I will now update this case and it says, hey, remember, as soon as you do this, all of this information will be removed. And I say, yep, I confirm that is my desire. All right, so now if we were to ever go back into that case, then I can see that the information has been completely randomized, that there isn't anything in there that could identify who this person originally was. Yeah. So that's helpful. The final thing I wanted to show you, so here's our settings menu. We all know what a settings menu is, but the way this one is arranged, the first half is where you can edit all of the settings that we created, right? All of the settings that come with your system. So like I said, we tried to pre-populate it with what I hope are some helpful fields, and here's where you can make changes to those. The bottom half is where you can start to create your own fields.
Got it.
So custom party fields, for instance. Let's say that you wanted to track gender. I'm assuming you'd want to do that with a pull-down box. I'll give myself 3 choices, okay? So now on the next screen it says, all right, you told me you had 3 choices. What are those? We'll say female, male, or I don't know, other, not applicable.
Other, yeah. Right. Self-defined, but yep.
Yeah. So, okay, so that's it. That's all that it took. I just added in a new field. So now if I wanted to track the gender of one of my visitors, I simply click on their name, and now at the bottom of their record, you can see there's my new field. Okay. So that's it.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty flexible program. It usually takes about 2 trainings, about a half an hour each to get people up and running. Sometimes they need to be up and running by tomorrow. And so we would do those back to back, and then you'd begin using the program the next day. Normally there's a board and a staff and an IT department and quite a few different people that are involved. So we might need to set up calls with multiple offices so that we can answer their questions directly, and that's just fine. But as far as actually learning how to use the program, you can see it's pretty simple. You just click add a case, type it in, and save it, and you're good.
Great.
Yeah.
Is there literature online that I can share with others?
Yeah, so I'm going to click on help. That's taking us to, excuse me, to our caseloadmanager.com/support. That's the help site. But I want to show you that there are 2 places. So this is more for existing users. And this shows us it has videos and tutorials and screenshots. And I'm going to be honest, I'm really proud of this because I think people call our office a lot of the times with questions, and we try to walk through those. But you know, the fact of the matter is it's so much easier on something like this. If you want to export cases, to just see a picture, you know, to just understand like, oh, right. Well, now this makes a lot more sense. I understand. I have to, let's look at an actual picture. Sorry, Zoom eats up almost all of my internet. It's very frustrating. There we go. So if you look at an actual picture, then you can see, oh, this is really easy. All right, now I'm not scared anymore. I just have to click on these couple of things.
Yeah.
And then I click update. It's easy. So we have tried to make this very simple. Obviously, we're always going to be here if you call with a question, but we're hoping that that this serves people as well. So we have that site. That's our main site. But there's also our sales site is at caseloadmanager.com. And if people are just wanting information about it, of course, this is probably the best place to go. If you go to About, this goes over some of our main terms and conditions. And that's what a lot of boards are interested in. We have some specific information for Ombuds offices. The cost page is there as well. So, yeah.
That's very helpful.
Great. And obviously, if you have any questions, please click on contact. That will send an email to all of our staff, and then the right person will respond to you, whether it's billing or programming or customer service.
Great.
Great.
I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank
Very
you.
helpful, useful information.
And we're going to be doing a demo. I believe it's the Wednesday morning at the Ombuds conference. So Wednesday morning at 8 a.m., just at our booth, we're going to be doing a quick demo there so that people can actually get in and try the system for themselves.
Oh, great.
So
Okay.
I think that's one of the best ways to know if a system is right for you or not, to actually get your fingers in there and play with it and see if it feels good, you know?
I appreciate it. Can I ask, do you know off the top of your head how many other university or college